Welcome to Comic Picks by the Glick, and here's your host, Jason Glick.
Yeah, and the guy who just spoke for me, that's your co-host, John Murphy.
Oh yeah, that's right, it's me. All right, I'll buy that.
Okay, this week we're doing another themed podcast, and our theme this week is nothing more than the end of the world.
Awesome.
Yeah, or at least in this case, the post-apocalypse.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
What's left of the end of the world?
Yes. Yeah, and for our first series this week, the end of the world, in this case, is brought on by nothing less than zombies.
All right.
Yes, I speak, of course, of Robert Kirkman's The Walking Dead. Now, see, this is it's about zombies, especially, and it's really interesting because, most zombie movies end, it's like after, they begin with the zombie onslaught, and then the humans trying to struggle and survive, and most of them dying, and then them escaping the zombies at the end to go on. But you see, what happens after they escape from the zombies? What happens next? How do they survive in a world that's overrun with all these beings that just know nothing and just represent certain death if they ever get bitten by them? Mm-hmm. See, that's the beauty of this series. It shows you what happens after your regular zombie movie ends, and what goes, and how the humans actually have to cope with rebuilding their own society, in the midst of all these zombies who are walking around.
Interesting.
Yeah, and for the most part, it does a really good job of that. Because it's the first volume basically introduces you to the cast, with its main character, Rick, former police officer, who awakens from a coma and then suddenly finds out his hospital's been infested by zombies, and eventually reunites with his family and several other survivors. Now, true to zombie movie form, some of these survivors don't always survive, and there's also some problems with the people there, his former partner, who is also developed a somewhat unrequited relationship with Rick's wife.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but these issues are slowly moved beyond as the series go on, as you meet new survivors, new characters, and Rick and the rest of the crew set up shop in a prison, which nice bit of symbolism there, setting future humanity in a prison in order to keep all the zombies out. And Kirkman, the writer, does a really good job of showing addressing all the issues that there people are going to face with this. How do we live? Where are we going to get our food from? How do we deal with all these things that are walking around now?
So there's no zombie delivery service for food?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and fortunately, so far he hasn't even begun to address why there are zombies here. And really, I really don't think he actually should get into a point of why there are zombies. Mm. Yeah. The only problem with the series is, and this creeps in as further on, this is a problem with all the post-apocalyptic series I've read, is that basically what point does it get when you start throwing too much crap onto the humans? You've ground them down so much that when does the series start being fun to see how they survive, and just becomes a dirge about oh great, what crap is going to happen to them now in this volume?
Mm-hmm. It's always a struggle to do the simplest things. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, but the problem with The Walking Dead really doesn't set into until around volume 5 or so, when Rick and the rest of his crew encounter another settlement of humans. Mm. Now it'd be interesting if they actually wanted to integrate into this colony, and obviously problems showed up later on, but no, it turns out these colonies run by a crazy person.
Awesome.
Yeah. So he basically tortures Rick and the rest of his crew in order to tell them where the rest of their people are. And while Rick and his and the people who came with him do manage to escape after see, the other problem with the series is how it comes to genre conventions. Before escaping, one of Rick's crew managed to torture the evil leader to a certain extent. And it's clear by all the stuff she does to this guy that you're thinking, my God, how could anyone survive that? But you look at it and it's he's not dead. He's going to come back. He's going to come back and he's going to kill them all at some point, which is exactly what happens at the end of volume 7. Mm. Now, on one hand, this is keeping in with the true zombie movie tradition of the real enemies aren't the zombies themselves.
Right.
They're ourselves, other humans.
Right.
It's really our
crazy the other crazy nut jobs out there.
Yeah, it's like we really humans are our own worst enemy. We're a bigger danger than ourselves than any other supernatural threat that we've come up with. Mm-hmm. And the series gets lots of mileage out of that point up until the point where we get to the evil leader of their settlement. And at that point, at the current point of the series is at the end of volume 7, which is where I've read up to right now. We're basically like where the evil leader has finally come back and is going to has basically come and declared war on Rick's Rick's group of survivors in the prison. I'm kind of wondering, well, this is either for me the series reached make or break territory. Either it's going to Kirkman's going to come up with some new twists in order to show us where we're going to go from here, or we're just going to go, oh, even more horrible things are going to happen to our people, and then we get his cruise and you get even more depressed and wonder why is this life even worth living. And that's really not a series I really want to read about. So, like I said, I'd say really volumes 1 through 4, solid gold if you're a zombie fan. After that, well, if you like the series, I mean, you're going to want to keep reading it.
Right.
And I can't say like what's been done after that isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. Mm-hmm. So,
would you say it's a case of maybe diminishing returns, or?
I wouldn't say diminishing returns, since he's, like you said, he's exploring new stuff, but like it's kind of like he's going in directions that he's exploring a direction that I'm not really that interested in seeing.
Gotcha.
Well, hopefully the forthcoming volume 8 will restore my faith in the series and make me want to see. Hey, yeah, so all the stuff I said before, that's crap, man. The series is still good, but we'll see.
Cool. So what's our next post-apocalyptic type?
Yeah, well, for this and the following thing I'm going to talk about, we're going to Japan.
Awesome.
Yep. So we're talking about manga now, and we're talking about The Drifting Classroom by Kazuo Umezu. Mm-hmm. And
The Drifting Classroom.
Drifting Classroom.
All right.
Drifting through time, you see.
Cool.
Because it basically talks about a classroom of kids of elementary school kids, grades 1 through 6, and their teachers, who through some strange reason are transported into the future. Mm. Yeah. And, this is considered a classic by many people, which is why it's part of the Viz signature line.
Gotcha.
And there's really one part in the series that I think really sums up on both its appeal and its problems for me. See, the main character, Sho, he's a really standard sixth grade kid. Basically talks about mentions after they've gone to the future and after all the adults have gone and killed themselves or gone crazy and tried to kill the kids because they can't deal with being transported into the future to the strange world. Mm-hmm. He basically, Sho goes up to tells the kids the reason adults survived is because they couldn't believe that they were transported to the future, that they couldn't think something like this could happen to us. But we're kids, we can accept that we've been transported to the future and we've gone to this strange, crazy land. And that's the thing right there. That is, I think, is absolutely dead on. And the problem is that kids, I mean kids of the same age as Sho and his other classmates, are really going to dig this series because it does all sorts of crazy, interesting things, and all of Sho's adventures as he tries to survive. I mean, certainly horrible and all, but assuming that I raised my kids right, I'd say that this is something I wouldn't mind showing them. Mm-hmm. The problem is that anyone older than that is going to look at some of this stuff and go, "Oh, wait, I can't actually. This doesn't make any sense," because you see, while Umezu does a good job of getting some mileage out of all the threats that these kids would face, from being transported to a strange, barren future landscape where there's no food, no available water, and all sorts of strange, creepy, crawly things running around. Umezu actually feels the need to introduce even more threats beyond that, because you see, at some point the kids also, aside from facing crazy teachers, diminish food problems with food,
right,
and then also strange mutants that attack from the Outlands. Umezu also feels the need to introduce a monster that is generated by the imagination of one of the kids from the classroom. And I'm thinking, wait, now you've transported these kids to this strange futurist landscape, and now you're introducing threats that don't even have any relation to them. And then at one point he also introduces threatens the kid with bubonic plague, which is brought on by a squirrel that escaped from their timeline before they were transported to the future. Yeah, and this threat is solved through the use of like time travel, through the use of time travel, because at certain points, Sho is able to communicate with his mother from the past, and these sessions are actually great because Sho's mother is completely crazy with grief at the loss of her son, and it's just fun to see her interact with everyone. It's like, no, my son's not dead. You'll see. And then at one point, Sho has to tell her, like, you have to put the antidote to the bubonic plague in this one mummy that we found in this one vault under, like, out in the desert. And she's like, well, how will I know who this mummy is? Oh, he's got a scar on his left hand. So naturally, she goes to the hospital. She goes to the hospital. That's where he tells her that, I think this is where the building where we found the mummy is. I think he was found in the hospital. She goes to the hospital and she says, wait, this is baseball player. He's got a scar on his left hand. He's obviously going to be the mummy. So, I mean, it's like that stuff is like yeah, even though it's completely ridiculous, it's fun because it's so crazy.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but really, it's like the series. And it gets like the issues I have with it mainly stem from the fact that Umezu just doesn't that whenever he strays from creating threats that aren't specific to the land, or the inherent problems of getting a bunch of elementary school kids to work together, it really you just start rolling your eyes and going, oh God, man, why am I still reading this? Yeah, I will say that the final volume, which came out recently, does actually end the series in a way that I didn't quite expect, and didn't really annoy me in any new and interesting ways. So it ends well for the most part, though I have to admit, it's like this is stuff that, even though it's like the series is very violent, I mean, it comes with an explicit content warning from Viz. It's like assuming you've educated your kids well enough to the fact that, like, like this stuff happens and the stuff isn't real and you shouldn't try to emulate it. All the violence happens to this kid, which is really quite graphic in some regards. Like, you get limbs, heads ripping off. Yeah, it's painful, but like I said, I wouldn't say it's something that I'd really want to keep away from my kids. I mean, if anything, this is probably something that you'll probably have to worry about keeping away from your kids, John, once they get to this age.
Right.
Yeah, but still, it's like, if anything, it's probably will appeal more to the younger you are, the more you're probably getting into this.
Gotcha.
Older, it's like you're probably going to go, well, I'm buying this. I'm buying an old series from the 70s so I can hope they release a more cool new series in the 70s. But, well, I don't know. It's like, on one hand, it's like, I'm not looking to sell this. I'm done with the series. But on the other hand, meh.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And what's your last selection for the day?
Well, my last series is actually the one that I probably recommend over both of these. It's called Dragonhead.
All right.
It's also one of probably the last Tokyopop series that I was still reading. Yeah, it basically deals with the experiences of two high school kids, Teru and Ako, who, after going on a high school trip, wind up having their train stuck in an underground cavern after a great cataclysm, and now they're stuck in this underground cavern. They have to survive by using all the food and resources that's still on the train, and also have to contend with another classmate, Nobuo, who basically winds up going crazy after this happens. Now it's like, well, it's fun to see them survive for the first two volumes. Them being stuck in this cavern is only the first two volumes. Volume 3 out, then you get to see them get to the rest of Japan. Found out that, hey, you know what? Japan is screwed, man. It's like it's a complete hellish apocalyptic landscape. Buildings are ruined. The sky is covered with dust. It's like it's the end of the world.
Awesome.
And all the choice you have left is to go back to Tokyo to find out just what happened, and are their parents still alive? Is anyone still alive?
Piece the puzzle together and see what we got.
Yeah. And for the most part, it's like I said, just seeing their journey back there is really fascinating. Seeing in the way that the survivors they encounter, seeing how the different people cope with this new world order. Some people see it as a chance for freedom, to like, hey, we can do whatever we want. Other people say, like, oh, it's the end of the world. Now we have to die and take everyone with us. Other people say, hey, you know what? Our circumstances have changed. We've just got to go on living. And really, the advantage that Dragonhead has over both the Drifting Classroom and The Walking Dead is that in comparison to those two, all the series like just kind of like grind down their characters, forcing like new threats upon them every chapter with really little respite for its main characters. Dragonhead does a really great job of after these characters of putting these characters through absolute hell, then giving them a chance to relax, recoup, recover, get the main characters back to working order, and then pushing them even further back into the red, showing them even more horrible stuff. And like I said, I just think that works really well, because if you're gonna keep grinding down the characters, you can't just keep doing that over and over again, or you're just gonna go. Your reader's is just gonna go, wow, my God, man, you're just doing this over and over again. Why the hell should I care about this? So this, oh wait, oh thank God, they finally found some relief. Oh, I can relax. Oh my God, now there are even worse situations. My God, no. And that's the best part about Dragonhead. Mm-hmm. And in the end though, it's like the ending, it ends well. I mean, my biggest issue was that I was hoping for a big, mega happy ending.
Yeah.
That Taro and Aku finally make it to the end, and they're rescued by either like the self-defense force or like outside military forces. And well,
it's not so mega happy.
Let's just say that rather than actually doing that, the author Minataro Mochizuki actually he goes and gives you enough room in the end to decide what happens to them. So if you want to, so it's like, it's like I said, it ends well. It's like it ends. It's certainly it's not like an everyone dies ending, which would have been painful.
Yes,
but you look at this and you think,
it's an end.
Yeah, it's like, and okay, if I want to think that in the very right after the ending they were rescued by outside forces, I can think that.
Right.
And if you wanted to think that, hey, if they went and died in the very next second, you can think that as well.
All right. Like I said, it's an end, but it's
yeah. So really, it's like I said, Dragonhead is like the series most worth buying out of all of these. Drifting Classroom, yeah, and Walking Dead. Like I said, volumes 1 through 4, awesome. Everything else, well, I'm kind of like waiting to see for volume 8 before I determine like how far that's going to go.
Before you pass judgment on the entire thing.
Well, I mean, like Kirkman has said, he's really the beauty about The Walking Dead is that Kirkman, he can push you go as far as he wants right now, because it's like, I mean, we haven't even touched on what's happening outside of the state these people in. So like really, he's got a huge amount of room to go for this. I mean, he can keep the series going on for like forever if he wants, because like all this stuff he can just keep on talking about what happens in the U.S. Once that's in, he can go on talking about what's happening in the rest of the world.
Right.
However, whether or not it's actually gonna be worth reading about.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see about that. But
all right,
that's what I said.
Okay, so that's it for this week, and
yeah. Well, hey, we'll come back next week,
and we'll talk to you later. See ya.
Night.